Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome all members and guests to the July 3rd, 2025 Public Hearing Committee meeting. And remind everyone that our meetings are web streamed and televised. If you could take a moment to ensure your phones are on silent, that would be appreciated. For those attending virtually, please keep yourself muted when not speaking. When called upon to speak, please turn on your camera and unmute yourself. I now call the July 3rd, 2025 Public Hearing Committee meeting to order, and note that Councillor Very, Columbus, and Huffman are not present. All other members are here today. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Two additions to the agenda today that we would add a deputation from Valley Consulting regarding item 4.1, 676 Gibraltar Street, CD 25067, and add a deputation Miles DeBias. Item 4.2, proposed closure and conveyance, staff report CS 25077. Are there any other changes to the agenda? Seeing none, a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Duthie, Councillor Micheli, all in favor? That's carried. Sorry, one more time to move the approved agenda as amended. Duthie and Van Andrieschie, all in favor? Carried. Thanks. I now officially open the public meeting authorized to be held under the Municipal Act, the Planning Act, and County Policy. Please be advised that under the Ontario Planning Act as amended by the province, only specified persons and public bodies as defined in the Planning Act may appeal a decision of Norfolk County to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Third parties or anyone who is not a specified person or public body do not have the right to appeal a decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, to preserve the ability to be party to any appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal, third parties or general members of the public are required to make comments or provide written submissions here today. These meetings are to allow oral and written comments and input to decisions on specific development applications. And we're going to start today with item 4.1 on the agenda, which is CD 25067.
Thank you. Through the Mayor, an application has been received to amend the zoning bylaw to urban residential type 5 zone with special provisions to allow for the development of a 25-unit affordable housing residential apartment. The application is submitted by J. Douglas Valley Limited on behalf of Haldimand Norfolk Housing Corporation, which is a publicly owned community housing provider. In reference to Council and Committee Report HSS 24016, Haldimand Norfolk Housing Corporation updated the regeneration strategy dated April 9, 2024. Council approved the subject development referred to as Delhi No Development Project to provide 16 units of affordable community housing, including a minimum of 10 rent-geared to income units. The subject lands are located in the urban boundary area of Delhi at the intersection of Gibraltar Street and Ewell Street. The subject lands are currently vacant. Surrounding land uses include low to medium density residential uses and institutional uses. The subject lands are designated urban residential and currently zoned urban residential type 2 zone. The proposed development consists of a 3-story residential apartment that includes 25 affordable housing units with a minimum of 10 rent-geared to income units. Parking is proposed on-site for a total of 28 parking spaces. The subject lands are accessed from Gibraltar Street. The following zoning bylaw deficiencies are addressed as part of the proposed draft zoning bylaw amendment. The following technical plans and studies were submitted as part of the application, which include a planning justification report, the functional servicing report, stormwater management report, traffic impact statement, civil engineering drawing, geotech investigation report, and a draft zoning bylaw amendment. The traffic impact and parking brief submitted with the application concludes that the addition of site-generated traffic will have minimal impact on Gibraltar Street. Furthermore, it is the engineer's opinion that the proposed on-site parking supply of 28 parking spaces would adequately accommodate the peak parking demand generated by the subject affordable housing development. Financial management and planning provided that the increase in total units will increase the total amount of fees related to the overall planning and building processes for this project, which will be further reviewed as part of a financial feasibility review. Planning staff notes that the development is subject to a concurrent site plan control application. Water and sanitary modeling are required to provide confirmation that the proposed development can be adequately serviced, which will be addressed as part of the site plan control process. Planning recommend that staff report CD 25067 for development application ZNPL 25156 be received for information, and further that any comments received as part of the statutory public meeting be considered in future recommendation report. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions to staff? Okay, we have Scott from Valley Consulting registered for deputation. Scott, whenever you're ready, you have 5 minutes.
Just wait for the slides to pull up. So, Madam Chair, thank you. My name is Scott Plandre. I'm a registered professional planner with G. Douglas Valley Consulting. We're the agents acting on behalf of the applicants for this application. Next slide, please. So just some of the players of the construction project manager and the director development of technical services from Haldeman Norfolk Housing Group. I'm not quite John Valley, but I am Scott Plandre from G. Douglas Valley. So next slide, please. So Norfolk planning staff, you've been provided with a solid background about the location, the details of the property. Again, just to provide those sort of site-specific, the area context for the application, give some detail on it of where it's located, the size of the property, the frontage. It did previously have a dwelling located on the property, which has been since removed in anticipation of this application coming forward. And council may have seen this with some assembly of the lands that took place through part lot control applications, just to get property lines in proper locations for sale and consolidation of units by Haldeman Norfolk Housing. So they've brought this forward with previous applications. Next slide, please. So as was discussed, this is the implementation, the initial steps of the implementation of the approved housing plan by Norfolk County Council in 2024 under HSS 24016, and that concept of the provide 16 units with a minimum of 10 with the rent geared to income units. With a capital construction targeting passive housing standards. So this is that step to now implement that plan from Haldeman Norfolk Housing and from the county itself. Next slide, please. So we provided a proposed site plan that shows the location of the building, the location of the parking to support the unit. As was discussed by the planner, there is a seeking reduction of the parking requirements, but it's in line with other housing developments of this nature. It's been looked at from a traffic impact study by a professional engineer, and noting that sort of nominal impact on the local traffic operations. Next slide, please. So just again, the overview of some of the special provisions being sought as part of the zoning bylaw amendment. That site triangle, which is that, because of the corner lot location of the building, there are provisions that we need to address under the bylaw. The rear yard setback, and again, that's almost a technical requirement, because that 9 meters to 3 meters, the reason it is a rear yard is because it's a corner lot, shortest lot line abutting streets, definitions in the bylaw. Really, it's an interior side yard that you normally see those at 1.2 or 3 meters anyways. Some parking requirements and location of parking. We talked about the parking reduction just to support the actual site itself, and the height restriction to have that height increased to be able to permit the 3 stories. And then obviously all other zoning provisions are satisfied under the R4 or R5 zone. Next slide, please. So from obviously a planning perspective, it's been reviewed, checks the boxes from the provincial planning statement, the Norfolk County official plan. This type of development's encouraged by both provincial and local policy. Obviously important affordable housing units being provided, and that it's now implementing that vision by council for that affordable housing development. And then timelines, just in regards to making sure the project stays on track. That's why we've got concurrent site plan and zoning bylaw amendment applications brought forward. Just a point to note, we've worked with planning staff to have and engineering staff regarding the removal of the holding provision from the bylaw, as it'll be handled under the site plan provision. Again, just to reduce the steps. It's not saying they won't have to go through the steps, it's just that extra redundancy on the planning piece from the holding provision where it'll still get addressed just through the site plan application. And we appreciate staff's work on that. I can answer any questions that the committee might have. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Questions? Seeing none? Okay. Mover and a seconder to receive the deputation as information. Councillor Breton, Councillor Van Andrieschie, all in favor? And then staff direction is to receive this as information, including any comments as part of the statutory public meeting be considered in a future recommendation staff report. Someone wish to propose that or an alternative? Go ahead.
Don't you have to ask if there's any other members of the public?
Oh, thank you. Anyone from the public here to speak to this file? We'll be back tomorrow. Is there anyone on the line that wishes to speak? Okay. Councillor Van Passen moves, followed by seconded by Councillor Duthie, that staff report CD 067 for development applications at NPL 2025-156 be received for information, and that any comments received as part of the statutory public meeting be considered in a future recommendation staff report. All in favor? Carried. Take one day off. Okay, next we have item 4.2, proposed closure and conveyance of Part 1 on Plan 37R 352 adjacent to Old Church Street, Lyndoch, report CS 25077.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of committee. Report CS 25-077 is a road closure and conveyance request being presented to the Public Hearings Committee for information purposes to allow the public an opportunity to express any concerns, comments, objections, or support with regards to the applicant's request for the closure and conveyance of a part of Old Church Street, Lyndoch, which is adjacent to their property. Purchasing the portion identified as Part 1 on Plan 37R 7352 will enable the applicants to comply with the zoning bylaw for the development without the need for a new planning application. As part of this proposed purchase, certain conditions would need to be met by the applicants before any such closure and conveyance could proceed. These conditions would include the applicant's requirement to improve Road B, provide an updated lot grading certificate, and enter into a mutual agreement, all at the expense of the applicants. If these conditions are met, this portion of road allowance could then be considered surplus land, as there would be no municipal or legislated use for it as per our county policy. Staff would also then be recommending that an agreement of purchase and sale be entered into and the agreed upon condition clauses be inserted into such an agreement. Once these conditions are completed, a road closure and conveyance for this portion could then proceed and be completed. Staff are here today to hear from the public and to answer any questions members of the committee may have relating to this request. A further recommendation report will be presented to council at a later date for a decision. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Questions from committee to staff? Okay, I'm not seeing any. We have 4 scheduled deputations for this staff report. The first is item 4.2A. Randy, welcome. You have 5 minutes for your deputation, and I can let you know when you have 1 minute remaining. There's a button on the right-hand side of the microphone that'll turn it on for you. And start whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and councilors. I am sort of really disappointed in this bad game of chess that's been going on. I heard from Realty Services that it's surplus. Surplus is property that is something that's left over. Well, it's never been left over. Brock Street, which is a non-maintained road, ran south of my property. And I've been in my place since 1987. It's a historical building. In the early 1990s, Peter Livingston bought the property, which is now 16 Old Church Street. Myself and Peter Livingston and a manager of the road department from Haldeman, Norfolk region got together, and we came to an agreement that we would put that hammerhead in purposely for parking and a turnaround. And I've got documents that state here that the county made the decision it wasn't meant for parking. It was meant for parking for neighbors and friends. And you can refer to page 34, paragraph 1, and it wasn't the county. It was Haldeman, Norfolk region, and that was obviously everybody knows it's a 2-tier government, and also the town of Simcoe and the township of Dye, and it's very disappointing to read. Its primary use was not acquired by the county for parking purposes. It was not the county. It was Haldeman, Norfolk region. For the last 34 years, I've maintained the property. I've always taken care of the hammerhead. I've always cleaned it. I've always removed the snow off of it to help out with the county. I have parked on that hammerhead for the last 35 years, and to this date, I still park there with my work truck, and how all of a sudden, the people have 7 acres of property, and obviously it's been through a minor variance, and the minor variance has been deemed that the garage is not within the setback. And that's why I say it's just a terrible game of chess. It's just unbelievable. Taking that hammerhead away from the public, that would not. Old Church Street is a horse and buggy lane. It was the 19th and 18th century. It was used for horse and buggy. The road is undersized. You can't park on the road, you can't park on the boulevard, you can't park on the front yard, you can't park anywhere. There is no parking. I now have to tell friends not to come see me because there's nowhere to park because of the structure of the new building. And if you look at the GIS on page 41, that is my county work vehicle that's parked there, and that was taken years ago. I contacted Realty Service about this whole thing, the surplus property, and then I was informed that I would have to incur the cost to make application for the hammerhead. And if we go to page 37, they want me to pay for all that conditions of sale, and I've been misled, and it's just astronomically unfair. And then on page 34, it clearly states that the adjacent owner, that's me, made no application. Not in a month of Sundays am I going to pay for something that has caused damage done by other people. I would like the county purposely to keep part of that hammerhead, or keep it all, bring it back to status quo, or give some parking space, because we're going to need it. All my neighbors need it. I would, if it comes to push to shove, I'd like to purchase 1 or 2 parking spots. I'm not going to, like I said, in a month of Sundays, pay for it again. I paid for the paving on that road. When I bought my place in '87, there was no trail. The road was there, but it was old grass. So on Peter Livingston, who's now passed away, myself, him and I agreed to put the paved road in, and I paid for it with Peter to have that done, and paid for the paving on the hammerhead.
Sorry,
I've
Randy, I'm
paid
gonna
my
have to
dues.
jump in and cut you off here. You're at time.
Okay, 1 minute, or I'm done?
You're done. I didn't want to interrupt you because you were
Okay.
in the
And
throes of
thank
it.
you for listening to me.
Thanks. Just hang on for a second. I'm not sure if you might get some questions. Are there any questions for the deputation? Councillor Berry.
Thanks, Mayor. And thanks for the deputation. Could you just clarify, because you're getting there, why did you end up incurring the cost of paving the road? I'm not clear on that. Why did the county not do that? Why did you do that?
In regards to myself paving
Well, you were
the road?
talking about you and Mr. Livingston having covered the cost of paving. I just wanted to clarify that. Like, so you decided to pave it, or did you, like, how did that decision come to be? I don't know if you can just pave a road.
That was an agreement with the Haldeman Norfolk region, myself and Livingston.
Okay.
Peter Livingston and myself agreed to pay for it.
Okay.
I tried, I cannot find the documents from 35 years back or 30 years back because of the two-tier government, and now I've read things that possibly may have been with the Township of Dye. I've checked records, I did FOIs.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify how come you ended up covering that cost, but that's good enough. Thank you.
Councillor Van Passen.
Councillor Very already asked my question.
Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks for being here today, Randy. You started to say something that was taking the hammerhead away, and then you went in a different direction. So I guess I'm trying to understand where that sentence was going. What did you mean when you said taking the hammerhead away? What were you going to say next?
Well,
I feel like I was missing a part there.
Okay, that hammerhead was used for parking. If you look at I think it's on page 41, and that was used for turnaround vehicles and parking, and a lot of people used to park there. It's a historical village. People used to park there and paint and just visit people. Friends would drop in. You can move boats around in there, turn around and et cetera, et cetera. I think that's answering that correctly to you, Councilor.
Okay. Okay, just so I understand then. So really the big concern here that you have is parking. And then you started to say as well, I've been misled, and I guess I want to understand that more. What do you mean by that?
I'm sorry.
You said, I've been misled. I'd like to understand that more.
Yeah, because when I called Realty Services, I was told, I called, I just simply called and said, I'd like to purchase the land, and then talking to him, I'm trying to get figures, how much does it cost? And he said, well, if you want to buy that piece of land, you're going to have to go to page 37, and you're going to have to pay for page 37. You enter into an agreement and pay for damages, and there was no permits ever issued and that hammerhead is being damaged substantially. Old Brock Street is being torn up and dug up, and why should I bear that cost of doing that when I've already paid for that paving of Old Church Street? And I named that street Old Church Street. It used to be Church Street, and the county asked me to name it. So I've got a lot of history there,
That's all. Thank you.
Councillor Vanadrishi.
There you go. Now we are. Thank you, and thank you, Randy. When we're talking about where the Part 1 is and the road where Old Church Street Road is and Road B, so it comes to the end where the house is, and then you can go straight out the other way, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you're correct.
Yeah, yeah. There's no inhibitor there. You don't have to turn around and go back up the Old Church Street. You can go down the alleyway.
Yeah. I purposely opened that up myself. The Holloman Norfolk never did. It was grown over. I opened it up just for emergency purposes.
Yeah, because it was a sand spot. Yeah, I remember that. But there is a road there that can be accessed.
It was a footpath, but
yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Okay, so when you're looking at it, and you were talking about where your property is, that you'd like a parking slot or two. Is that what you said?
Yes, because I really do need it. Because, there's nowhere to park.
Okay, so in essence, then, can that particular property, in your opinion, be split?
Can my property be?
Could this property that we're talking about be split if you're looking at two?
Yes, it could be.
Yeah,
I think if they do their mathematics,
correct.
If there is to be setback incurred.
Okay, all right, perfect. Thanks, Randy.
Okay. Thanks, Randy.
Thank you, Worship.
Let's do all of the deputations on this one in one motion, if you're okay with that. I'd like to move ahead and invite Donald up for a deputation. You have 5 minutes. You can begin whenever you're ready. The button on the right-hand side will turn on the microphone, and I will let you know when you have 1 minute.
Perfect, thank you. Okay. Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, councillors, for allowing me to make this little deputation. I've lived in Lindock for 10 years. I live about 2 houses away. I'm at 190 Lindock Road. And I continually use Old Church Street and Brock Street when it's drivable as a thoroughfare to go back and forth out to Charlton Street, and many people do. This is becoming more and more widely used with the Mennonite school right beside us, and now even with the increased number of people coming to visit the new owners. So I'm noticing quite a bit of traffic through that area. And as Randy explained, these are buggy lanes. These aren't suburban streets where you got curbside parking. There's no parking. If you go to visit somebody, you end up parking on their lawn or in their garden or something to that effect. So the reason that this hammerhead is very important to us in this little enclave is that it does provide a bit of overflow parking when people come to visit. Large trucks, propane trucks coming in and out. If they don't want to go back out Brock Street because it's kind of iffy, they can back into the park, into the hammerhead, and get back out safely onto Lindock Road. So, it's not just a parking spot. Period. It's many other things. And like Randy was mentioning, I just met a couple outside today who used to come and park there. They came from Simcoe. They would come for their daily walk, and they would park there and walk around Lindock and enjoy it. Now, that is no longer available to them. So I think in order to consider this surplus, it has to be surplus of municipal needs. That's what the document says. Well, what are municipal needs? Are we talking about needs of the county, the corporation, the different departments, or are we going to include the residents? Are they part of municipal needs? And I think the residents have spoken very clearly about how they feel about losing part of their road. I mean, how would you like it if somebody built too close to your street and all of a sudden they want to make your road narrower? Same thing. So I really caution the county, I mean, not an expert, legal expert, but I would caution the county that, you start to do things like this as a result of, obviously mistakes were made in this build, else we wouldn't be in this position in the first place. Improper surveys were sent, they were approved, and I guess what irks me more than anything is that there was a discovery made very early on in the construction process that something wasn't right. And why did it take over a month for something to happen. After that was discovered that the survey was wrong or there was some problems with the survey, they should have closed the whole project right down and rethought it, rethinked it, reconfigured it so that it does meet this proper setbacks. At least that's the way I would look at it. But that wasn't done. It seemed like every effort that the county could to allow that garage to get finished and built, seemed to me that, well, they're not having any intention about that garage being illegal. They're not concerned. They're just going to let it go. Piece of land, a little bit here and there, doesn't matter. Well, obviously it does to us. And, if that's not recognized, and it's only recognized that because you can submit wrong information and get away with it, because the county's going to be complicit and help you out with it. It just doesn't look right.
1 minute remaining.
So that's about all I have to say. I would, encourage the council when they make their decision to think of the residents and to think, there are other options. It doesn't have to be sold. An option that hasn't been raised is, why not remove the offending portion of the garage? After all, this is a 3-car coach house garage we're talking about here. If you lost a little bit of that structure to meet setback, is that the end of the world? I don't know. It would be very disappointing for the owners, yes, I know. But when mistakes are made in situations like this, normally people are asked to remove the offending portions of the fence or the shed or whatever. How is this any different? So that's what I have to say.
Okay, thank you very much for your deputation. Are there any questions
welcome.
for Donald?
Feel free.
Looks like you're free to go. Thank you. Next up is Martin Earl. Welcome, Martin. Whenever you're ready, 5 minutes. I'll let you know when you have 1 minute.
Thank you, Madam
left.
Mayor. Councilors, my name is Martin Earl. I live at 6 Old Church Street with my wife, Dina. And while we respect the process, we're still dismayed by the situation that's going on at 16 Old Church Street. We oppose the sale of the land to the applicants, which would allow their badly planned and illegally built garage to remain in place. We hold no animosity toward the applicants, only toward the building that was erected 21.5 inches, from the property line, so less than 2 feet. We object because the building permit for the dwelling was issued based on incorrect information by the applicant, and we wonder why this didn't lead to the revocation of, or the permit being revoked for the entire project until there was a rethink. The initial mismeasurement of the building lot is alarming and makes me wonder if this could not be considered malpractice to some degree. An error of 17.71 feet is not a minor mistake, and the applicants did not deem it important enough to triple or even double check their work. They seem not to have checked at all with the county before they destroyed the paved hammerhead area. The hammerhead was, quote, well known to the county staff and area residents and clearly identified on the survey. They sought no such guidance until it was too late. We feel that the applicants have been disingenuous and shown an inclination to minimize the situation. On February 19th, the applicant spoke about approaching this process with due diligence and ensuring that necessary steps were taken to comply with regulations. We disagree. One should not have to attend multiple council meetings if one has done their due diligence. Old Church Street was flooded twice, February 24th and March 5th, both in 2025. 5 months or so after the construction began, they either did not have a drainage plan, or if they did not put it into effect. On the 5th, March 5th, multiple Norfolk County employees showed up at the site. On April 16th, the applicant described the water that completely covered the road as a puddle. So I've included some photos in with my little, portfolio or whatever. I would like you to decide for yourself if it was a puddle or a flood. The applicant's builder stood right here and stated, quote, "At the end of the day," referring to Old Church Street, "it's a dead-end street." It's not now, and it hasn't been for the 28 years that I lived there. Dead-end street is defined as one way in and the same way out, not turn the corner and go out the other way. As the neighbors will attest, Old Church Street was blocked by vehicles numerous times because the applicants failed to include in their plans an area where their agents, vehicles, and material could be staged without being all over the public road. Despite the stop work order being in effect since November 2024, on or around April 28, 2025, the applicant's electrician ran wiring and installed 3 lights on the exterior of the garage. When I mentioned this to the builder, he blamed the electrician for the mistake. When I pointed out to him that there had been a lot of mistakes on this project, what followed was a very poor attempt on his part at public relations. So admittedly, and I recorded this, the recording gets a little salty on my part at the end. But I ask you to listen to the call. Anybody who's interested, I'll get you a copy of that call. On June 14th, 2025, I'm expecting 914 pages of documents from a Freedom of Information request that I filed on April 16, 2025. Here, I would humbly ask council to, for a small postponement until the next public meeting so that myself and the neighbors can have a chance to read and react to said
Just
documents.
under 1 minute remaining.
Okay, I'll cut right to the end then. What galls us the most is that the applicants came into the neighborhood bearing a permit that was granted based on false and/or misleading information, destroyed the paved county hammerhead, caused the only flooding of the neighborhood in many, many years, if ever, blocked the road with seeming impunity, soiled or damaged private property, built their structure practically on the road, again, less than 2 feet from the road, and, and now it seems like they just want to be rewarded for their ineptitude and just, buy a piece of land that will suddenly and conveniently make their problems disappear. The neighborhood is not buying that story. The story we want to hear is about the amount of time, manpower, and money that the applicants have cost the county, and about the number of times that the applicants have been cited and/or fined for various transgressions.
I'm going to have
If we're
to
not
stop
careful-
you there.
Okay, we're
Thank
going to
you.
lose it. We're going to lose all these beautiful gems in Norfolk County if we're not careful.
No clapping, please. Everyone can just stay neutral, that would be appreciated. And just a reminder for all the deputations, all of the comments should be focused on planning and the application matter, not personnel matters with your neighbors or developers. I know it is difficult, I know it's very personal for
I'm
everyone.
trying to sum up the whole situation,
Understood.
Madam Mayor. Yeah.
Yep, understood. Okay,
Okay.
are there any questions for the deputation? Councillor Brennan.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Was there a survey done? Are you aware of a survey of the property when they built this building?
Sorry, did I get a copy of the survey or something?
Were you aware of any
No.
survey?
No, sir, not
You
at
weren't?
all. And I did get no copy at all, or had no knowledge of it. Why? I'm not sure why that's relevant.
Well, I just
but-
wondered how it ended up on this county property.
Well, that's what I would like to know
Well,
too,
that's what
sir.
I'm asking. You don't know of a
No, I don't.
survey being done? Okay,
I don't
thank
know.
you.
I mean, that is up to the applicants and the owners, no? Yeah, okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Councillor Van Passen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Not sure if Martin is the right one to ask, or Randy, what year did the region or the county or township buy that extra piece for the hammerhead?
Again, I really don't know. It's been there for 28 years since I moved to the neighborhood. That's all I can say. Before that, I don't know.
1996, because,
Yeah, I moved in 97, so.
okay. Because I did bring my file from the Committee of Adjustment. The survey is from 1996.
I thought you were going to say you brought your file from 1996.
No, I was in the city of Nanticoke, other side of the fence, right?
Any further questions for the deputation? Seeing none. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Miles. It's the last deputation for this file. Same rules apply. There's, I think the microphone's already on for you. You have 5 minutes, and I'll let you know when you have 1 minute remaining.
Dear Mayor and Council and committee members, my name is Miles Tobias. I am the applicant. I am here to purchase Part 1 to gain full occupancy of my home. This will allow us the proper setback of the 6 meters. We started this journey back in September when we started to build. Like the previous people before me said, the survey that was handed in was incorrect. We found out about this in November, and at that time we also started the minor variance process. So unfortunately, we were short 5.5 meters, and we have worked hard with the county to try to rectify this issue. They had mentioned that we were able to finish off the garage and certain things. We did have permission from the building inspector, or Fritz Enslin. I know one of the main concerns is parking. So we have offered to purchase Part 1. It is quite large. I think it's about 66 feet wide altogether. We only need about 20 of the feet. The other feet could be used for overflow parking for the neighborhood. We have offered that in the minor variance application form as well. We've come to the conclusion with the other meetings that we've had with the county that I was under the impression anyways that the turnaround or the hammerhead was just for emergency vehicles to turn around in because they weren't allowed to go down Brock Street, the unmaintained road. So this is why we've gone into a cost sharing agreement with the county to pave Brock Street in order to make Part 1 surplus and able to purchase. As Randy had mentioned, if he wants to purchase half of it, I'm willing to purchase half of it. We're on the same page with that, or we can purchase it all and still have the parking available for everyone else. We did have some drainage issues. I won't lie. Maybe puddle was the wrong word to use. It was flooded. We did have water coming from the adjacent farm, then over to the school, and then onto our property, and then it had nowhere to go. We didn't have our final grade done on our home. Since then, though, we have added 2 swales to prevent the drainage from happening, or flooding from happening. So on the east side and on the north side of our home, we have put in 2 swales to relieve any flooding issues. We have had some pretty good downpours since then, and no issues since. Even when we had the major flooding, all the water was gone the very next day. The town did try to pump it off that day, and they were unsuccessful. So we did get lucky with our soil. It is sand, and it did go away. The garage is built 100% on my property. It is not on the county property at all. There is also a small amount of damage to the hammerhead. The only damage that has been done to the hammerhead is when Enbridge Gas came in and they broke a little piece off at the end of the hammerhead. They are aware of it and they are going to fix it. They just haven't come out yet. It was brought up, why did we build so close? Long Point Conservation Area gave us a building envelope, and it was fairly small. We had built just within inside that building envelope. We weren't able to push back any further.
1 minute remaining.
That's all I really have, unless there's any more questions from everybody else.
Okay, thanks, Miles. Are there questions from committee? Councillor Vanadrishi.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. So thank you for your presentation, Miles. Have you indicated that you only need a certain portion and the rest could either remain or be used or for the public access for parking?
That's correct.
Okay, okay, so you're committing to that?
Yes.
Okay, I
Yeah.
just wanted to hear it
Yep.
for myself. Okay, thank you very much.
We would only ask that, it would be the only way that we could get to our backyard, that we would need a laneway. But I mean,
Yeah.
if we could work it out with the neighbors, then that's fine.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Councillor Duthie.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Through you, Miles, thanks for being here today and giving us more information on the story. So absolutely, the concerns that we heard earlier were related to parking. Councillor Van Adriche has addressed that. The next one primarily was related to flooding. You say that the drainage has been resolved. Your drainage plan wasn't completed at that time. You've added swales. We had significant amount of water on Monday. Were you aware of any challenge there?
There is no challenge.
So the swales had worked?
Yeah, both swales are working just fine, no issues. Once the road is paved, or once our paving is done on our driveway, there is a puddle that is just on our property. We can get it to route to the swales, but no issues on the road.
You'll deal with it?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other issue that we heard certainly was the damage to the hammerhead. You've addressed that. That was Enbridge's issue, and they will be correcting it?
That's correct.
Okay. They do take some time, I can say from experience, so.
Yes.
Okay, I thank you. It sounds to me like you've done some work to try and address these concerns. Appreciate that.
One other point I would like to make out, I did contact the Mennonite School, which is pretty much the only neighboring person to Brock Street. They believe if we could accommodate the parking to help out the neighbors, pave the road and keep our garage, they're on board. They want to stay neutral though, but very supportive.
Councillor Van Passen.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. You have an understanding, engineering were out, and you were going to pay to upgrade Brock Street. And that sort of eliminates the need for the hammerhead, the turnaround. And that's where the Mennonite School is not opposed to that. The neighbors on the other side were not opposed, but what was the rough price tag that we were looking at for that job?
So we got a cost material estimate, and it was about $16,000. And then I passed that on to Norfolk County Building Department, and they were going to work out a cost for labor. And as far as I know, it was going to be around $20,000 total.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, thanks for coming. Appreciate the information. I'd like a mover and a seconder, please, to receive the deputations as information for point 2A, B, C, and D. Moved by Councillor Duthie, seconded by Councillor Brunton. All in favor? Carried. Is there anyone else here today that wishes to speak to this file? Is there anyone on the line that wishes to speak to this file? Okay, seeing none. Go ahead, Councillor Van Passen. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Madam Mayor. Keep hearing about parking, and I noticed that Mr. Milson's in the back corner back here. Could I just ask, by law, is parking allowed on Old Church Street and on Brock Street in Lyndoch?
He's making his way up from the nosebleeds.
Thank you very much. To Mayor and Council, under the parking bylaw, road has to be 8 meters wide for you to be able to park on it. That particular road is narrower than that, and so you would not be able to park on that road. And there's no paved shoulder or shoulders to park on.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Berry.
Yeah, excuse me, can I ask a question of Fritz? I see he's on the line here. Can we talk to him for a sec? Fritz, can you hear me there? Hey, there you are.
Yep.
Can you give me a reminder, please, just on some of these permitting issues and the stop work orders, and just give us not a long, detailed timeline, but a short, detailed timeline on exactly what building did and what was said and how we got to here, please?
Sure, I'd be pleased to. Thank you, through Mayor to Councillor Very. The application was submitted for a building permit for a new home to be constructed on the property. The plans were reviewed. They were reviewed through zoning bylaw review as well as the building code review. The permit was issued based on the information that was submitted. We did receive a survey as part of that application. And that survey showed the building as being located within the outside the proper setbacks that were required as zoning bylaws. So staff proceeded to issue the building permit. It came to our attention a few weeks later that there was a concern about the building perhaps being too close to the property line, to the hammerhead. Staff investigated it further. We did contact Realty. We did get confirmation that that portion of the property, there's a block of that property, apparently was not owned by the applicant, but that was actually owned by the county. And so once we are made aware of that, we proceeded to communicate with the owner and with the contractor to find a solution, a resolution. They were seeking legal advice. They were talking to the engineers to deal with the situation, find out the best way to resolve it. It was approximately the beginning of November, and it was determined that no further action has been taken place and no further communication was provided. So a stop work order was issued pertaining to the portion of the building that was in violation, which would be the garage portion. And so that stop work order was issued. It was posted and remains posted today. The construction continued on the remainder of the project. There was no reason to stop the construction of the entire project, but we did put a hold on the project.
Fritz, I don't know if you can hear us, but we've lost you. You're frozen, so we'll just take a quick minute here and let you reboot. Councillor Brunton, did you have a question for a staff member that's in the room? Okay, yep. We'll have to wait for him to come back on. Councillor Van Passen?
Yes, thank Ben Mayor.
My apologies.
Just 1 second, Fritz. We've got Councillor Berry's left the room, and I'm going to give the floor to Councillor Van Passen, and I'll come right back to you.
All right.
Thank you. Sorry, bud.
Maybe I can ask Realty Services a question while we're in the thing, but I think Mr. Dubai has brought it up that they only would need a portion of that whole section. Is that been factored into the report in any way that they would only need, what, 1.2 meters past the edge of the existing building? Has that been sort of calculated out?
Through you, Chair. Yes, it is. He does only need so much, 0.54 meters, to comply with the zoning. So there is that addition. And again, the other adjoining owner could buy it if he wanted to. He would just have to pay, like everybody else, application fee, a reference plan, the cost that would be involved in the road closure. Or we could leave it in the county name and not, but it was just, he was willing to buy the whole portion because it was already surveyed out as a reference plan, so we wouldn't need another reference plan if we had a portion of it, but he's willing to do both, as he said.
Okay, Fritz, if you could continue. The last thing I heard was that the stop work order remains posted today, but you did not see the need to stop the remainder of the project.
Certainly, and again, my apologies. I'm working out of Gilbertson office here, and we've had some technical issues with the internet, so I'm just using my mobile communication here. But yeah, further to what I was saying is that the stop work order was issued on the garage portion of the project. There was no reason to stop the entire development, but we did want to make sure that no further progress continues onto the garage until we get the matter resolved. So that stop work order is still in place. That stop work order basically allowed the garage to be enclosed. The time of year would have been detrimental to any unfinished construction. So I did grant the garage to be enclosed from the elements so that there would be no further damage to as a result of the weather. And so that included the windows, the siding. The garage remains vacant to this date. We have confirmed that. There is no occupancy of the garage. Partial occupancy was issued for the dwelling to allow the residents to move in, but there is no occupancy permit granted for the garage until the matter is resolved, at which point then the stop work order will be removed.
Is that okay?
Thanks, Fritz. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Fritz. Councillor Brunton has a question for you as well.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Fritz, you mentioned at the start there was a survey, a legal survey of the property?
Through you, Madam Mayor, there was a survey as part of the building permit application that staff referred to, and it indicated the location of the building on the property, and there was no reason to believe that it was any different. We relied on the survey. It came to light later on that survey was incorrect.
I guess that's where I'm just trying to get clear in my mind. That was it like a legal survey by an OLS, or was it just a survey that the applicant produced? Obviously, it did not show the road allowance or the county property.
No, I believe that the survey was prepared by Douglas Valley at the time, so that was part of the submission, that the drawings were prepared by Valley.
So I assume then that the county property was not shown on that survey that you looked at.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Brunton, there were no details as far as the information on the county portion. The survey simply identified the information as it pertained to the lot.
Okay, so, and again, I'll ask that question, like the survey wasn't done by an OLS, it was just a survey that Valley handed to the applicant.
Correct. I would have to confirm that, but I don't believe it was an Ontario land surveyor. It was a survey site plan prepared by the engineer.
Thank you.
So maybe just because it's atypical to call on you again, you've already spoken, are you able to just verbally, yes or no, confirm with your head if that survey was,
Valley, my builders got the survey from Valley, and that's how.
Builders got the survey from Valley, okay.
Madam Mayor, it was from Jewett and Dixon, that's right there, so.
Okay. I have staff, I don't know if it's Karen or Bowden that would like to speak, and then Councillor Duthie.
Hi, thanks. Through you, the chair. I can explain that a little better. The reference plan that was submitted for the building was a reference plan that was created prior to when they sold the piece to the Township of Delhi. So the reference plan that the applicant submitted was a reference plan which was 37R 7310, which was created, and it was drawn up by Jewett and Dixon, so it was a year prior to 1996. So the reference plan that was submitted included that part one of the hammerhead. A few years later, the predecessor on title sold a portion, the hammerhead, and took it out of this reference plan. So in reality, the legal description for the property of the applicant is the reference plan less, it should have said less part one on this new plan. So it can be confusing. There was a reference plan. They were all prepared by Jewett and Dixon. It's just the part one on this portion of the hammerhead should have been saved and accepted out of this reference plan.
Councillor Duthie.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. A question for staff, and truthfully, I don't actually know who I'm asking to, whether it's Mr. Lambert or Mr. Milson, planning staff. But so if we now know that parking is not actually allowed on that property, presumably that would need to be enforced by bylaw. That'll be fun. If the property were to be purchased and become private property, could it then be parked on? Is that not the, I guess I'm curious, is that the only way that it can be parked on then? Sorry, if we're not doing it properly currently.
I'll do my best here. If it's privately owned, you can park on it, no problem. But in this case, it would probably already form part of the road allowance. And so you wouldn't be able to park on it being a shoulder to the roadway, because you can't park on the shoulder. So unless we had parking, paved parking available at the side of the road, that would be fine, as you see downtown, it's marked. But if it's just on a narrow residential road like that, we have many of them, like in Waterford, there's many roads like that. People are not allowed to park on the road. Sometimes we have to enforce because they're parking on the boulevard because they need access parking. So private is private, the county would enforce on the boulevard.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Okay. Makes sense.
Okay, are there any further questions? All right, there is a recommendation before council today that reports CS, oh perfect, it's on the screen before you. Does someone wish to propose that or an alternative? Councillor Duthie moves. Seconded by Councillor Van Passen. Is there any debate or discussion? All in favor? It's carried. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion's carried. Okay, item 4.3 is staff report CD 25081. Why don't we just go ahead?
Can you just remind the members here, this is a committee of council, so this is not final until it does get approved at a council meeting later on. So
Probably later on this month?
in 2 weeks or whatever
2
it is,
weeks?
3 weeks.
I'm looking for staff to confirm that. Yes? Okay. Sorry, ma'am, we don't take questions from the floor. You need to register as a deputation. So the decision is, this is a public committee hearing meeting. All final decisions will come to council meeting at the end of the month. Thank you. Let's give everyone, a couple minutes to clear out, and then we'll move on to our last file. That wasn't a full break. That was a, let's give everyone a minute to clear out. All right, we have quorum in the room, so we're going to continue. Whenever you're ready, staff.
Thank you. Through the mayor, this application has been received to amend the zoning bylaw provisions of bylaw 27/7/2022 to allow for the addition of 86 additional residential units to the approved 86 townhouse dwellings draft plan of subdivision known as Big Sky Subdivision Phase 2. The application is submitted by Dillon Consulting Limited on behalf of Ashley Sood, representing Calibrex. sorry, we're having issue moving slides.
I'm not sure how you do this. Stop sharing.
Thank you. The subject lands are located in the urban area boundary of Simcoe. The site will be serviced by an extension of Butternut Drive that provides vehicular connection to Deco Road. Surrounding lands include low residential density development, vacant agricultural lands, and rural industrial uses. The subject lands and abuttant northern lands were initially approved for a draft plan of subdivision for a one-phase development of 93 single detached dwellings approved in 2019. The development was then broken down into two phases. Phase 1, which covers the northern single detached dwellings, is already constructed. Phase 2, which is subject of this application, refers to the proposed addition of 86 additional residential units. So the total number of dwelling units that are being proposed as part of Phase 2 is 172 dwelling units. The subject lands are designated urban residential area and zoned urban residential type 4 zone. Individual driveway access is provided for each lot. A total of 3 on-site parking spaces are provided for each lot. That includes the required 2 parking spaces for the townhouse units and 1 parking space for the ADU. Several zoning deficiencies are addressed as part of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment that include reduced interior lot frontage for all lots, reduced exterior side yards, reduced minimum rear yards, reduced open landscape areas at the required front yard for all blocks. 3 parking spaces are proposed as opposed to 1 permitted parking space at the front yard. Encroachment of the parking spaces onto the public right-of-way for all blocks. Additional deficiencies were identified that include reduced corner lot frontages and also reduced corner lot minimum lot area. The following concept plan was provided as part of the submission, showing the building's footprint, provided parking spaces, and redlined markups. To provide a comparison of the proposed development of Phase 2 as opposed to the existing development of Phase 1, the following renderings provide the proposed block of 8 townhouses and 4 townhouses and the front yards post-development. The following site photos show the existing low-density development on the abuttant northern lands of Phase 1, along with the front yard setbacks and open landscaped areas. The following plans and technical studies were provided as part of the application that include a planning brief submitted by the applicant, a transportation review, functional servicing report, traffic impact statement, a draft plan of subdivision, and a comprehensive parking plan for Phase 1 and 2. Zoning review outlines, give a summary of the preliminary review. Zoning staff outlined that the zoning compliance table and site statistics need to be further updated to address missing deficiencies. The zoning table provided is insufficient for a development of the size and the amount of zoning deficiencies proposed. Engineering staff has reviewed the proposed rezoning application and are supportive of the application. No public input was received at the time of writing this report. The proposed residential density of Phase 2 accounts for a total of 66 units per hectare, which is significantly superior to the existing residential density of Phase 1, accounting for 12 units per hectare, so that's 5.5 times the residential density of Phase 1. The parking areas dominate the streetscape and limit the open landscaped areas. The paved services at the required front yards are overriding the development. We note that no developments such as a car park or parking lot are provided as part of the proposed development, which would reduce the on-site parking at the required front yard. Planning staff also note that the development does not include any affordable housing units. Staff recommend that staff report CD 25081 for development applications at NPL 2025-149 be received for information, and further that any comments received as part of the statutory public meeting be considered in a future recommendation staff report. With that, I would be happy to take any questions or comments.
Thank you, Samaya. The mayor's just stepped away. I'll step in briefly. Are there any questions of the committee on the report presented? Councillor Brunn.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Duffy. My question is, I didn't see any comments, and I know it's been a long-standing issue with the stormwater down there. Can you or somebody give me a little update on where we're at with that issue?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the councillor, we've been in conversation with Calibrix Developments going back into last year, and you may recall they were about to embark on building the proper outlet for the stormwater pond within this subdivision down to, I believe it's, I guess it's Lynn River, just further down the road. That work didn't proceed last fall. They then took their time to take their property through this rezoning exercise, and they are ready, subject to this being sorted out, prepared to advance the storm sewer outlet work down to Coo Road later this year, probably by early fall.
And that, if I may, will get rid of all the large ditches we have, and that takes in the total catchment area upstream, that pond?
Through you, Mr. Chair, back to the councillor. It definitely takes in the total catchment area upstream. The proposal would not eliminate the ditches that are along Decoux Road. They aren't urbanizing the road. They are building a storm sewer outlet simply for the pond. And the sewer within Decoux Road itself, however, is sized to accommodate the urbanization of Decoux Road in the future. And I believe that sits in a capital forecast a couple of years out within our budget presently. So the sewer is designed to take the urbanization of the road. They're just not urbanizing the road.
Okay, is that a closed pipe, though? It's going
Yes.
down Decoux?
It's a closed pipe, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for jumping in. Councillor Duthie, please go ahead. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you. So just so I understand correctly then, so 86 two-story townhouse dwellings plus 86 ADUs. So each townhouse has its own ADU. Do we know what the planned sort of configuration, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom in both sections?
Thank you. Through the mayor, so the applicant is here with us. Might be useful to let them present the development as well.
Is the applicant or agent in the room?
They are attending the meeting virtually.
Hi, my name is Raphael Romero. I'm a planner on behalf of the Dilly Consulting Limited. I don't have the exact numbers on hand right now, but I can provide that information to you at a later date, if that's okay.
Councillor Duthie, can you repeat your question?
Sure, I was just trying to understand the number of bedrooms within each of the units, whether in the townhouse and then also in the ADU.
Okay, that'll be information that council will await, I suppose, in a future recommendation.
It's Ashley Sood speaking. Can everybody hear me clearly?
Yes.
I am the applicant, 50% owner of Calibrix Development Group, and I can answer the question.
Please.
So the accessory dwelling units that we're proposing in the basement would have a 1-bedroom plus den, a 3-piece bathroom and a kitchen and living room with a mechanical closet and a laundry room captured in roughly 750 square feet. That's in the basement, and you'd have it would have its own independent entrance on the porch, either to the left or the right side, depending on which townhouse unit porch it would be entered from. And on the first and second floor would be more of a standard two-story townhouse configuration. So it's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom standard townhouse. I hope that answers the question.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Van Passen.
Yes, thanks, Madam Mayor. I think the biggest issue with this one is parking, but when I look at the draft plan, there is a easement on the east side for the water main that is 9 meters wide and 37 meters long. Would it be possible that you could actually put like a dozen or more angle parking spaces on an easement for a water line? Is that allowed or not allowed?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, you could.
Do you want to ask the same question to Ashley? The applicant?
Well, this is a public meeting. We're just throwing ideas around,
Okay.
and you know, I think that would be a good idea. And I think there's there's an awful big lot down by Block 11 that might have some space for some extra off-street parking. But the one thing I do notice about the plan that's up on the screen, we have the full 20-meter road allowances. Not to be, you know, we got a few other projects that have been approved in the past that had the very narrow roads, and there is no room for on-street parking. Now, with the full 20-meter road allowance, I think there is room for on-street parking, there's sidewalks and all those things, except you got so many driveways, it does limit it. So, got to find a few creative alternatives to that possibly, but.
Any other questions? Okay, comment from staff?
Thank you, through the mayor. I just want maybe a little bit of clarification with respect to the official plan policies. So the density that is permitted, it shall ranges from 15 to 30 units. That's how the policy is written. The density that is being proposed as part of phase 2 is 66 units per hectare, as opposed to 15 to 30 units per hectare.
I would just provide some comments, Ashley, if you're still on the line and can hear. I don't have any questions per se. I'm in favor of, you know, different housing types and bringing some more density into Norfolk and accommodating, you know, space for seniors to downsize and young families to move into. But I'm actually a really big fan of ADUs as well, but 86 of them is a lot when we're not meeting the parking requirement. I would really appreciate this file having a second look at potentially a reduction. We're not one in every single basement. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what's feasible for your plan, but it's not necessarily the density that concerns me. It's the lack of parking. We're still a community that, you know, everyone needs cars and we don't have the active transportation set up yet. So before this comes back, I would really appreciate some dialogue and consideration with our planning staff on a reduction in some of those ADUs. I won't arbitrarily throw a number out there because I'm not the expert, but that is a little bit much, and I fear that many cars in that area. Not a question, just my 2 cents. Anyone else? Councillor Van Passen.
This is almost going to be like more input from the public, except the public just happens to be sitting here. I'm a firm believer that developers don't just build stuff, they actually try to build stuff that people want and that what will sell. And I think we have a developer here that is trying to do something new and different. I hope that our staff can look at this and try to find a way to get the best of both worlds out of it. But, you know, I look at, if this was presented as a condo development, it would be okay. But the fact that they're single townhouse units, all of a sudden, our zoning bylaw says you gotta have this parking and that parking. I agree with your, like, we're more or less don't have any front yards. They're just a paved parking lot in front of every building with a flower bed at the end. So are there some solutions on that? There is a lot of on-street parking availability if you start looking at it, but, you know, I think maybe you are right that, you know, you have an 8-unit block of a townhouse that maybe it is a bit much to have every unit as an accessory dwelling, but I think that's what the market out there is looking for. Like, one problem we do have in Norfolk County is, or historically had, snowbirds that would like to downsize, but they only need a house for 6 months of the year. So an ADU in the bottom, you rent out the upper floors and you keep the basement apartment for yourself. You know, that is one thing we're looking for. We're seeing a lot more multi-generational families with, you know, mom and dad move in the basement and the young family starting out gets to live there and they share the expense. That's the only way they can afford the mortgage. I think that we're looking at a good idea on something that will provide housing to our community. And maybe we just got to get past a few arbitrary numbers on how many cars we're going to park there.
Ashley,
So
do you have
that's my little rant, but I don't have any questions, but
Okay.
I think that...
I think Ashley has a comment, so
Yeah.
feel free to jump back in here, Ashley.
Through you, the mayor. Yes, I wanted to make a comment with respect to the parking. So yes, it might seem like a lot of units, but we are supplying adequate parking. So with the 86 standard townhomes, we're supplying 2 parking spots per standard townhome unit, and then we're supplying an additional 86 parking spots contained on the lot. And yes, they are encroaching on the town property a bit, but that's giving 258 parking spots that are more or less contained on the lot and on the frontage off of the road. And county staff did express their concern about perhaps needing more parking or that this site needed adequate parking. But we were able to display that all the parking requirements were contained more or less on the lots, not on the road. We furthered that by a parking study, and we demonstrated in the parking study on a one-sided road parking study that we can give an additional 61 units. That gives us 318 parking spots. And we've also expressed interest in, we can supply shoulder parking within the road allowance. We are more than happy to do that. On Block 11, I would agree, there is a location there. So we don't want to necessarily make it, you know, hard to maintain as far as county plowing and stuff. But if we edged on the shoulders within the road allowance, we'd be more than happy to accommodate. And the idea is to have an affordable housing project, something that lends itself to that multi-generational family, and they can live together and have a little bit of space. But this would be the most affordable product that we can offer, and I haven't seen anything that is better than this as far as affordability in Ontario, as far as a traditional townhome style of living in a beautiful place like Simcoe.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, seeing none, can we get the staff recommendation up, I believe, just to receive as information and include comments as part of the statutory public meeting? And is there anyone in the room that wishes to, on the line, that wishes to speak to this file, or in the room? Come on up. There's a button on the right-hand side of the microphone. If you wouldn't mind stating your name and your address for the public record, then you have 5 minutes.
Yeah, hi, I'm Lee McCarthy. My property is at 55 Butternut, which is just right on the edge of this new development. And actually, we're here because we're having trouble communicating with this company with regards to getting answers about how water is being managed on the current vacant space beside our home. We're not getting anywhere with that, and we don't know what to do. So we came to this meeting, my wife and I, to ask what the responsibility of this company is to manage the stormwater as it sits right now prior to these pipes going in. Our property is being badly flooded and damaged every time there's a rainfall, and we're not sure what to do or who to talk to about it. So that's why we're here. Secondary to that, we have built a fence, which they agreed would be okay to do. We went to the city about a permit for our pool, and now the pool foundation is damaged because of flooding water coming from the build site, and it's just not, they're not responding to emails about this.
Okay. So Liam, today we're meeting under the Planning Act. We can only really talk about this file, but if you hang around, we can get you connected with our staff, and we will get you connected with the developers.
Okay. All right.
Thanks
Thank you
for
very
coming.
much. Appreciate it.
Final call. Does anyone else wish to speak to this file? Sure. Come on up. You'll just have to state your name as well.
Hi, I'm Christina McCarthy. I also live at 55 Butternut Drive. Like my husband said, we did put up a fence. We got the permits and everything. We've been approached by the foreman of the building project for Calibrex, as well as one of their workers. He kind of does a lot of different things for them in both situations, and actually in more than one occasion. But with both of these people, they have told us that they're going to tear down our fence when they begin this building project. So we actually, it's my understanding that they're actually supposed to share the cost of the fence and finish kind of the area to the side of that house that they haven't finished, like grass-wise and landscaping-wise and stuff like that. But we actually had the fence built 2 inches away from the line, hoping that that would protect us. But obviously we're feeling pretty intimidated because we just did this work, and are they gonna destroy the property 2 inches away and actually still cause damage to the fence? Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Even if they don't tear it down?
Some setback concerns. So I hear what you're saying. Took some notes. Don't go anywhere. I'll get you connected with staff.
Okay.
Not directly applicable to necessarily this file today, but just hang around and we will help you out before you go.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
And I'm sure Ashley heard that, and we can get someone in touch with residents of the community. Yep. Okay, staff recommendations on the screen. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Brunton, seconded by Councillor Michelle. Any discussion or debate? I will call the question. All in favor? That is carried. And that is a wrap on our meeting today. I'm looking for a mover and a seconder to adjourn at 4:27 p.m. Councillor Michelle, seconded by Councillor Brunton. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, everyone.